What's up, Above Average? Thank you guys so much for checking out the video today. Before we jump into this, I want to remind you guys, every Friday we're posting a video, and I'm trying to make these helpful how-tos, tips and tricks to help you in your walk with Christ. So make sure that you have subscribed to our channel so that you know whenever we upload. Every Friday, 6:30, make sure that you check out the video. Today we're talking about how to avoid sin, how to keep falling back into that same old pattern of sin, and how to avoid it in the first place. So there's really two parts of this. The first is what to do to avoid sin altogether. And then the other one is once you have sin, once you've fallen into that pattern of sin or whatever it may be, how to avoid coming back into that. All right, so the first one is just how to avoid it altogether. And this could go for whatever it is that you're struggling with. This could go with addictions to pornography, addictions to sex in a relationship, addictions to all these different things. It could also go for just having general frustration all the time, walking in this unforgiveness. It can apply to any type of sin that you may fall into. If you've ever been on the road, on the highway, every time you cross a bridge, especially whenever you go up over one of the overpasses, what you see is there's these barriers that are on either side. You've got this big wide lane, right? And if you're a driver, if you've driven for any length of time, you know how to stay in a lane. You're not, when you're driving down the road, you're not worried about just falling out of a lane, right? But whenever we go over a bridge, that lane is wider and there's these barriers on either side. Now, what are those barriers there for? They're to keep you from falling off, right? But there's all that space, like you should be good. There's plenty of space. You don't have to worry about falling off. And yet those barriers are there. Why? Because they give you peace of mind. If for whatever reason you were to lose focus for a moment, you were to just kind of drift, if you were to look at your phone for a split second, if you were to do anything and kind of nudge your way out of the lane, there's that barrier between you and the drop-off. And so that barrier is there to protect you in moments of distraction, moments of just not paying attention, maybe even falling asleep. They're there to protect you from going off. You bump into that and you get back in the lane. You keep on going. Guys, it's the same thing when it comes to sin. There needs to be some things in your life that are barriers to sin, right? There are barriers to avoid falling off of the bridge. Right, so if you imagine life as a highway, Rascal Flatts, shout out to you guys if you ever happen to watch this video, right? Imagine life as a highway and you're going through these bridges, you're going over these bridges and sin is on either side of the highway. You've got, addiction and you've got hurt and you've got anger and bitterness and you got all these things on either side of this highway. We need to begin to put up barriers. We need to put up these blockades to prevent ourselves from falling off of the road. So what does that look like in real life? Just practically, right? When we get into that mode of doing something wrong, a lot of times there's things that lead up to that, right? There's places that we go to do that. There's certain times of day that we do those things. There's certain people that we hang around that lead us to do those certain things. There's even certain mindsets that we fall into. Maybe it's whenever we get in trouble with mom or dad, or maybe it's when we have a fight with somebody that we care about, or whatever it is. There are these things, these triggers, these things that will push us into sin. What these barriers are in regular life, these are the things that help you to stay on track. So I know that this time of day, I am more likely to mess up. So what do I need to do? I need to put some guards up around that time of day, right? Maybe that's for you after, mom and dad's gone to sleep and you're tempted to do stuff that you're not supposed to do, right? Put up some barriers, right? Put up a way to where you don't fall off into that sin. Find practical things, right? Maybe it's a friend, maybe with your dating relationship. A lot of you guys have started to date right now, right? So in a dating relationship, put up some barriers, put up some protection, some guardrails for that relationship. My wife and I did this whenever we started dating. We dated around her parents, right? We came to church. And guys, keep in mind, we were fully grown adults by the time we started dating. When my wife and I started dating, we would date around her parents. I would spend time at her house with her parents, or we'd spend time at church, or we'd spend time in public. These kind of things set up barriers to where we weren't tempted to go off and go off the deep end into sin. Some easy guardrails for relationship. Number one is stay in public, stay around people, stay in public areas. Number two is stay in the light. Don't go off in the dark in the middle of nowhere and expect you guys to stay strong, right? Whatever it takes to keep you on the highway, whatever it takes to keep you from falling off into those bridges. And some of you guys, it's anger, right? You know that if something goes wrong in the morning, you've got to fix your mind or you're going to be angry all day. And so what we've got to do is we've got to put some barriers up that prevent us from getting to the point where it's too difficult to stop ourselves. So these are guardrails that kind of keep us in our lane, keep us where we're supposed to go. These are preventative measures, right? These are things that will help us if, we're focused in one direction, but we kind of lose focus. This will help us stay in the lane. And then the other thing we've got to realize is that sometimes once we've fallen into sin, once we've started to mess up and we've kind of developed habits of sin, we've got to figure out how to break that habit. I don't know if you guys notice, but wherever you go, there's pathways that are kind of dug into certain things. You can see them on the highways where the tires are always driving down. You can see them here on these paths, on these dirt roads where cars have driven over and over and over. If you have pets, you can probably see it in your backyard where your dogs follow that same spot everywhere and they kind of dig this path, this rut into the yard. Our minds work the exact same way. We develop these pathways, and what happens is the more we go that way, the deeper that rut gets, the deeper that connection, that pathway gets. And so the more that we drive down that road, the easier it is to drive down that road. And so what we've got to do, if we're talking about stopping sin that we are in as a habit, that we just keep doing, we keep falling into over and over, if we want to stop that, we have to interrupt that path. We've got to put up a roadblock, and we have to put something in our way that's going to stop us, redirect us, and put us on the right path. All right, so just an easy, practical way to do this. When we wake up in the morning, we decide how the rest of our day is going to go. Right? When you wake up, your alarm goes off, or mom and dad come in, wake you up, whatever it is, you set your course for that day. A lot of times we wake up on the wrong side of the bed, right? We wake up in a bad mood. But something my wife told me the other day, and it was just so amazing. God just like spoke through her, and she says, a bad morning doesn't have to turn into a bad day. A bad minute doesn't have to turn into a bad hour. A bad hour doesn't have to turn into a bad day, into a week, into a month, into a year. We have the choice. We correct our paths. We have to set our minds on the right path. And the best way to do that is as soon as you wake up, put your mind on the things that are above. The Bible talks about putting our eyes to heaven, focusing first on the kingdom of God, putting our eyes on Jesus, setting our mind on the Spirit, on things that bring life and peace. See, everything around us pulls us towards sin. It pulls us towards the enemy. It pulls us away from God. We have to realize that we need to set our paths, and sometimes those paths that we just so easily track down, right? We need to put up some roadblocks. I don't know if you guys have ever done this. I do this to my dogs because they've kind of dug in some ruts in the grass of my yard. And so what I'll do is I'll put stuff in their way so they can't go through there, right? And what happens a lot of times is they'll try to find another way and just kind of meet up with that path that they were in the future. But what you have to do in your life with sin, once you've started to do something over and over and you just can't seem to break that habit, you've got to put up some roadblocks that stop you and redirect you. All right, again, in the morning, the best time to redirect your mind. Set your mind on God the first thing in the morning, and it's easier throughout the day to follow Him. Guys, the last thing that we really need to realize is we can put up all of the practical, all of the physical things that are around us. We can put those in place and still fall short if we're not focusing on God, if we're not allowing God to help us. So the most important thing for us to realize in all of this is to be with God, spend time with God, talk to God, ask God for strength. And what happens is when we're putting our mind on Him, we're not going down the road to sin. We're not falling off the highway into sin. We're not going down those familiar paths towards sin. We are moving. We are changing our mind. The Bible calls that repentance. We are turning our minds towards Jesus, and that ultimately is what will free us from sin. That's how you stop falling into sin. That's how you stop going back to those same old habits. That's how you stop being the person that when you look in the mirror, you're disappointed in them. You start looking at Jesus and see what he says about you. Let him empower you to walk free from sin. Guys, I hope this encourages you today. I hope that you have an amazing weekend. And guys, whenever you see this video, make sure you like it and subscribe to the channel. Guys, if you've got questions, if you want to know more, if you want some more tips on this, let us know in the comments. Comment down below, and I will do my best to answer you guys. And guys, I hope that you have an amazing day. God bless you. You're loved.